What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to SOTG, Student of the Game. I'm your guy, Sir Love, and I'm up here with my man Oz.
One time for the one time.
And we're about to hop into another dope clip where we break down the game and give you insights, right, from all sorts of media sources that are available, whether it's interviews, TV shows, whatever it is. We want to dissect the knowledge that's there so that you understand how to start approaching knowledge yourself and learn to understand the game through everything that you come in contact with. So let's jump into this clip right here from Chamillionaire.
Yeah.
This came out from a summit that he did in 2015, but it is still so relevant. Let's talk about it.
First, the state of the music industry is designed to rip off an artist. That's what I believe. I believe that when the check gets handed to an artist, the check is normally not right. The first person that told me this was Nelly. Nelly told me, you got to learn how to do this thing called an audit. And I was like, what is that? And then he was like, man, you got to get a lawyer. And so I searched, I found Jay-Z's auditor, right? And then this guy went and said, I'll do it for, I'm not going to charge you up front. I'm going to take a piece. And I was like, okay. So he goes and he finds over $600,000 that the label hid for me. So I was like, wait a second. Is this the way it always is? He's like, yeah, you got to keep on doing this. So I realized all my peers didn't know this, that, I got into the music industry and thought that when you have a song that's number one, that it just goes magically because your song's good. It's paid. Like, payola is not supposed to be like a thing, but it's real. Like, I had to pay a lot of money to get my record to number one. And I started looking at the music industry differently, and all of my peers, I started focusing more on equity, right? I wasn't the guy that was going out and trying to chase a piece of a show that somebody's gonna pay me $10,000 to do. I wanted to get a piece of the actual thing that was holding these buildings up. So I realized all these guys weren't thinking like that. And the way I got off of Universal when they didn't want to let me go is I told them, if you don't let me go, I'm gonna go teach all these guys on the label how to do an audit. And they let me go because of that. They didn't want to pay all that money. So
Let's pause it there.
Real talk.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about it. So for everyone hearing this for the first time, right? Audits are regular things that happen in the music game, or at least they should be regular. If you're an artist that's created a lot of wealth or created a lot of value, sold a lot of records in his time period or in today's time period, you streamed a lot of records, you want to make sure that accounting didn't get anything wrong. And so what you do is you audit accounting. Actually, in the agreements, in many of the agreements that I get from people that reach out to me and say, hey, sir, can you take a look at this? Or can you give me your thoughts on this? Or things of that nature. And mind you, I say this, and I always say this, I am not an attorney. I still always recommend that you get one. I'm just a person that can read and give you some insight on what I would do if I were you. But I am not an attorney, and you should always go get one. But I've helped a lot of individuals, just kind of understand some basic things, right? And so many contracts have in the contract written out how you can audit, who can audit, the qualification that the person has to have to be able to audit, and the frequency at which a person is allowed to audit in the agreement. Like, this is such a common thing that there's a whole section in the contracts dedicated to how audits go, right? And what I've learned is that there's limitations, right? There's audit windows where if you miss an audit window, you'll have to then turn around and wait X amount of time before you can attempt to audit again. Like, there's all sorts of different things within the agreements that stipulate how, when, and what you can and cannot audit, and all sorts of different information. So everything he's saying, this is real-ish in the game. And I think this is something cats, they get their contracts, and I don't think that you would even think of audit in this perspective. You would just go audit. Okay, I think that's something you would skip over.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In your agreement.
I know I've looked at many contracts and been like, I don't know what that means. And I kind of just blow over and then be like, this is not even necessarily in music industry, but this is just in general, just in regular business. And in my early years, I've looked over and be like, whatever, and then not think about it. And in retrospect now, it's like, oh man, I should have been paying attention a little bit more. I would have probably avoided a couple of things. But hey, the fact that Chamillionaire's trying to put this out to everybody, saying that, hey, you got to pay attention because they will charge you for something that is not the price for that. And then you're wondering, where all my money go? I thought I had $1 million contract, and you spent like $900 million on one album.
Yeah. The whole audit process, because best believe, listen, the label will audit you.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not auditing them, then you're not doing your due diligence. I mean, they're gonna review your books. Like when you go in to sign a deal, right?
Right.
And typically there was a certain amount of money that it took to get you to where you are for the label to be interested in you in the first place. Right? And there's a concept of recoupables, right? It goes both ways. It goes all around the board, right? So the managers or the production company or whoever brought you to the board, to the table, is going to tell the label, like, hey, if you want to be in on this deal, you got to meet me where I'm at per my investment. I've invested X amount of dollars into said artist. So before you can sign the artist,
I need my recoupables, baby.
You got to recoup me for everything that I spent.
I want all of that.
And then we can have a conversation about how much you're going to give the artist as an advance, what type of fees you're going to pay out, how long you're going to be in the contract and agreement. So when you come and say, hey, I spent $100,000 on this artist, the label is going to audit you on that $100,000. And so, I used to do this all the time. I had a producer that I was working with, and I still work with her. And at the time, she was young, right?
Right.
And she had the studio. And I was like, hey, every time the artists come in, you log that they came in. She's like, what? And I said, every single time they come in here, I gave an Excel sheet, you log when they came in and how long they were here. And then, of course, she was 22 at the time, 23 or something like that, 24, whatever. Right. She wasn't keeping doing her due diligence with it, right? Fast forward, times pass, when it's time to start collecting revenues, and it's, all right, money's coming in and we have to, do Backpay. There's no evidence to showcase all the hours of studio time that you spent.
Put in, yep.
Right? There's no evidence. And if we're not logging and tracking every single hour, or at least on average, if a person comes in, they spend 8 hours with you, you put 5, you put something. Because what will happen at a later level is we're going to sit down and negotiate with the label. Well, our engineer's worth $30 an hour. And all of those hours over the course of all that time has to get paid back.
Get paid right? Back. Yes, sir.
And then when you think about, and the professionals, the people that do this at the high level, like real production companies, they do this.
Oh, they have to.
Oh, yeah, they're calculating every fucking hour that you're in there, every minute that you're in there. They might put extra stuff on there, and then you might be paying $100 for this person, $30 for the person that's rolling your weed in the corner, $10. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real.
Yeah.
And like, because I've seen production companies, who I shall not name, come in and help an artist get signed, turn around and then bleed his whole budget.
Oh.
Right? They'll put the artist in an apartment or some type of building that they own. Right? They'll provide room and board, and so whatever his monthly cost of living is, like that has to be recouped.
Yeah.
Right? They'll put him in a car. Right? He doesn't own a car. They just, I got you a whip, you know what I'm saying? So that way you can move around, right? But he's renting that whip and doesn't know he's renting that whip.
Daily.
Put a per diem in his pocket, right?
Oh, man.
So I'm gonna give you X amount of dollars just to move around with, right? But like all of these different things later, like the studio time, the hours, the lodging, all that stuff has to be paid back. And they're keeping tight account of all that. You have an artist with a back when they were actually giving budgets, $150,000, $250,000, $300,000 budget, in a production company that's just sitting there like, all right, well, we're gonna spend all $300,000 of this money, and then we'll go back to the label like, we got this dope ass album. We need y'all to pony up another $500,000 to promote it, and the label can go, we think it's dope, we believe in it, it's on a third, and they might pony it up, or they might look at it and say, nah, we're not going to do that. Y'all need to make it happen with the money that we gave you.
Right.
But it's a production company. They're not a label. That's breaking records is not what they do. They make good music.
Right.
So what's getting ready to happen is this artist is going to be shelved with a $300,000 debt. And now said artist is not going to be able to move around.
Now you got.
Now he got a dope album by some dope producers and this, that, and the third.
Can't go nowhere with it.
Can't move unless he finds black market investor to come along and put something behind him that's not tripping about that. That knows he can,
get his money
back somewhere else.
Yeah,
right?
That's real.
But typically, said artist is going to sit, and so like all that's a part of like and all that stems from this goddamn concept of auditing, because when a label comes back and says, well, we gave you X amount of dollars, they don't give you the money up front.
No.
Right? So they're paying on it, and so you're invoicing them for the time that you spent.
Yeah.
And that all that crap is real. And so when artists get in these contracts and they're not aware of the audit, it can really hit you in a awkward space, right? And what Chamillionaire is speaking of specifically,
right,
is the other side of it. So that's the coming in side.
Right. Yeah.
Then there's the what I'm here now.
Oh yeah, I've been here. Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Yeah, how does that even look like? You know, because I mean, you've already shown them that you are an asset. Like you provided some type of value.
Right.
You made profits, and now you come into this knowledge now. Like, I've done made 3 or 4 albums with them.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2 more albums I want to do with them, but now they've given me this type of budget, and I realize that I should have been auditing them. Do I get to go back and audit all of those past albums? Because if I've got all of that information still,
yeah. Right? It depends on your contract. Because your contract,
that's what I was gonna say.
Your contract can stipulate how far you could go back with an audit. A contract can get funny like that, but most of the ones that I've seen, you can go back and do back audits, right?
Okay.
But when you're auditing the company, this is the reason why you've seen it happen with Future. You've seen it happen with Rich Homie Quan. You saw it happen recently with 50 Cent even, right? Where they'll basically say, hey, I ain't dropping another fucking project until you pay me what you owe me for the last one.
Ooh.
Because the label will turn around and say, hey, you gotta, I need you to drop some more records. And the artist will feel like, well, we just audited you, found out you owe me $1.5 million. I need my $1.5 million. And then since the label systems, for various different reasons, are slow to put out cash, it might take you 6 months to get your 1.5.
If that.
And so you might sit. You just might sit for 6 months like, I ain't doing nothing, right? That could, for someone like Rich Homie Quan, negatively impact your career because you're on the come up.
Yeah.
And you're fighting for your money.
And you can't.
And people, you're not hot enough for people to wait an exorbitant amount of time for you to release more music.
No.
But if you're 50 Cent and you've moved on to television and the third, you got all these things happening.
You're still relevant.
You're still relevant. You don't care. You can wait. You can wait it out and force them to give you your bread. Future can wait it out, force them to give you your bread. It's strategic. Man. But the reason this happens is, in my opinion, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that it happens. But some of the reasons are, you sell X amount of records, and from an accounting side on their end, you're not getting credit for every record that you sell. You're not getting credit for there's money that comes in at different periods in time. Like everyone kind of thinks that everything is
by the book. Yeah.
No, not necessarily by the book, but like on a weekly schedule. Like if you're an everyday person, right? You grew up in a time period where you get your check every other Friday,
right?
Or every Friday or some shit like that, right? But when record labels are collecting money, they're collecting money from all sorts of different places all around the world in different time periods and intervals. Yeah. Right?
That's different currencies.
So different currency exchanges, different everything coming from a lot of different places at one time. So when they give you your check, that was one period, right? And it's supposed to go, your accounting period is from X period to X period, right? And then you get paid out, in that way, right? But what happens if you then moved on to your next project? There's still money coming in for the last project. You're on project number 3. You still got money coming in from the first project, second, and third. Right. And labels, in my opinion, they know that they owe, right? Mm-hmm. But they're not going to do the due diligence to track down your money.
No.
That's your money.
It's like the government, man. If the government gives you money, like if they mess around and they mess up your taxes and you get an extra $10,000, right? Oh, they want their money back.
Right.
In their hand right then and there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, we gave you too much money. I need you to bring that back, right?
Right.
But the minute, right, you receive that money and you gotta pay that money back, like I said, they want it then. Mm-hmm. But if they owe you,
it's the whole process.
Oh man, we gotta go through all this paperwork. We gotta go talk to this person, get this approved. Like we know we owe you, but we got to get these people to approve the money to come back to you, and then we got to figure out how we gonna get it back to you. Like that, I've seen that happen. Just being in the Navy, I've seen that happen. Right? You get a small, no name E1. Just got into the Navy. Mm-hmm. You got the same name as a captain or a general. Your mom, all of a sudden they give you a $10,000 check. Like seriously, like $10,000 check. Oh, it's yours, but you don't get paid for like the next year and a half, because you just got everything that you were supposed to get. I mean, well, it wouldn't be that much. It might be like a year, maybe at most. right? But
These
it's like
cats only making $10,000 a year.
man, you gotta understand, like as a captain, yeah, but no, not a year. That's a check.
No, I'm saying, but you said the person that got the check might not get paid for a year. Like,
Oh
he's only
yeah,
making
yeah, yeah.
10 bands.
It could be like that. Yeah, cause like an E1, I think you're making like not like 900. Yeah, about $900
Per check.
Per check. It might have gone up if you got like
And they get
dependents or
a
whatever.
check
every month. That's your pay every month, and it's split in half.
$900 a month.
Yeah, but you getting taken care of as an E1 too, though. Come on now, you gotta think about it though. Like, but you got benefits. You got lodging because you don't. Most of the time they don't allow you to go off the. You can't just go out and live in the rest of the.
I can't do it, bro.
but that's just the way it is.
No. But all respect to the people out there.
They get, but you get like
sacrificing their lives for us and our
definitely.
freedoms and this and the third.
But it's needed though. Like I mean, it's less distraction because most.
And some of these guys 18. Like 18 years old.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So it's not like even the ones who are like 25, 26, 27. Because I went in when I was 25.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went to school. Of course, I ended up getting a little bit more. I didn't get to finish until I got in. So. I got more money. Plus, I had a wife. I had kids. So all of that.
All
so
that
I got,
factors in.
Yeah. So I was in a different pool. I came in as an E3. So going into getting to that next stage was easy. But it's money. It's all money. And like I said, I've seen it happen to where people are pretty much.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Why not?
This
is real life.
No, it is real life.
Oh.
But people are given that opportunity to basically figure out what they can do with the money, and you can try to give it back, but it's not necessarily saying that you're going to be able to get that money back. You'll be at a situation where it's like, oh, I want to give it back. I want to try to. Nah, you keep that. We'll just make sure that we keep tabs of when we need to start paying you back again, and that's how it goes.
The label's the same way.
I believe it.
It's the same way. It's like the process of not the exact same way, but the process of getting your bread.
Yeah.
Anytime you're owed anything, is a whole rigmarole.
I already know it.
Right, but that's the reason why you hire these auditors. You hire these high power attorneys, right, to come in and really help you with these various different situations. And so the label's gonna drop the ball on your cash.
Yeah.
Just point blank period, because it's not their responsibility to make sure you get paid.
That is real.
Right? It's your responsibility to make sure you get paid. So every year or two, every 2 years, whatever the period is going to be, you run an audit, get all your back stuff moving, and keep it coming. Now, the thing about it is some artists will take offense to it, feel like you're robbing me, you're taking from me, you're stealing from me, which creates the energy if I ain't doing nothing, I'm not moving, let's give my money. It's like that comes from the street side of it, right?
Same way on the other side with the military, same concept.
People don't want to move.
They don't want to move, right?
But what you can do, if you have a good relationship with the label, at the end of the day, just keep working. They're gonna pay you cash.
That's it.
They ain't got no choice. But what people don't want to do is see the tab roll over, which has happened as well.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not dealing directly with a major, which is another thing. The audit process, the money can get tangled up in so many different places. Not only is it coming in from so many different variables, but you also have so many people involved in the collection. So, Warner might not be holding up your check. You could be signed, under Warner, under whoever, and like there's 3-4 different layers that could impact whether or not you're getting your money. So when you're auditing, it's a whole process because you got to figure out where the money fell out.
Oh man,
in the chain.
That's got to be tough if you're doing. Oh man, it's like inter-business audits. Like, oh man,
it's a whole thing.
And you may have 3 or 4 different labels that owe you money. And they can't pay you until the other label pays them. It's like robbing the Peter to pay Paul, man.
So when Toni Braxton, they showed this in the movie,
right?
When she was going to LaFace Records for her money, LaFace was saying it's not us, it's them. Right?
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
Right. But then they'll say it's not us, it's them. Right. And so then you got to fit that whole crap. But whose responsibility is it? Because you also have people that are standing up labels. Right? Real talk. You have people that are standing up labels that don't have the business history of being able to handle millions and millions of dollars in a legal way and understand the tax process, the accounting process. They may not have the right people hired. I mean, think about it. A lot of people watching this right now, like, yo, I'm going to go independent. I'm gonna have my own label. It's gonna be me. I'm gonna do my own thing.
Right.
Right? Which is cool. But in that process, people also gonna put my homie on, put my friend on, put this person on. You just created a very multifaceted payment system. Right? Because now you have to not only, what if you're all running through the same DistroKid account? Right? Not only do you got to figure out whose money is what, which DistroKid will help you figure out, but who pays who, and who do I give what to at what period of time, right?
Right.
Do I recoup or not? How much do I recoup in the process?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to mess up the relationship with your homie, your friend, who's on the third, but you've invested. Right?
Yeah.
Then you have people that are going to look at each other and try to figure out why are you getting this and you getting that, and not necessarily understand the numbers, but feel some type of way, right? You also got to you also in that process have to manage. Okay, how are you going to do the taxes, because you're going to get the whole tax burden if it's your account.
Oh, yep, that's real.
Right?
That's real. They're coming after you.
So now you gotta, you gotta send out your tax documents to each of your homies. Yep. They may not be prepared for that. You then gave them. This is if you make it practical. You got an independent company. You did $100,000. You put your friend on. Your friend did $30,000. Mm-hmm. Your friend went out, bought a chain, bought some clothes, got himself an apartment. He out there working, trying to keep the streams coming in, but he owes taxes on that $30,000 because you look at the tax bracket. He's probably gonna be good. Because at $30,000, the government really ain't checking for you. He might have a kid or two. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He probably get a refund off of that, just like working at McDonald's or anything else of that nature. But if you on your end, you got 4 homies that you got signed up to. You made $100,000. The other 4 made about $30,000 a piece. Let's say. Right. That means they just did $120,000. You're looking at a $220,000. Your tax bracket is they want half. Right? And so you're trying to write your boys off as expenses. You're an expense. You're an expense. You're an expense. Right? And all of y'all are expenses, right? And so that's normal, straight up and down business. This isn't complicated. Everything I said about tax, none of that is complicated. It's very simple, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're a person that hasn't been involved in taxes, that doesn't understand tax brackets, that's never paid this out before, that's never dealt with these things before, how easy is it to mess up something?
Foreign language, man.
Right? And even if you study and try to get it right, you can get it wrong. And if you don't hire the right person, because now you got someone in your money. Now you're like, I don't know you. You're in my money. And you're calculating this and doing that.
And you're watching them more than they can be watching money.
And then you know that the scammers out here. And so what? So I gotta give you my social, and I gotta give you my this, and I gotta give you my that, and you got so many layers to just trying to pay people.
Yeah.
Right. If you are independent right now, doing this on your own. Right. Yeah. Start your own label. So imagine you're independent and you just dealing with that. But what happens if one of y'all pop off and the next thing millions start circulating?
Oh yeah, man.
Not only is millions circulating, DistroKid's gonna do the job of pulling all the money from all the different places from a streaming perspective. But then you got neighboring rights. Then you got your royalties and all this other type of stuff coming in. Everyone's paying out that side. You got people that got points.
Ooh.
How you gonna break out the points?
Yeah.
You just did $30,000. You just did $100 or you just did $1 million in sales, but you got to pay out the points. And then you gotta send them tax notices and right?
Yep.
For every single person who's getting paid.
Yeah.
Because you gotta relieve your tax burden. Otherwise you're gonna do all this work and the government's gonna come and take half.
Yeah.
Right?
Off top.
Right? And so
they want their money.
You can beat a label up. And I know I always sound like I'm being defensive of labels. And I just wanna create
it's
clarity.
It's the other side of the pillow.
I don't really care whether you're a label or independent. I'm all about winning.
Yeah. And
you can win either way.
Yeah.
So if you look at the picture, it's very easy for someone to F up some cash. Now, the difference with the label is that, you've been doing this for X amount of years. You know what I'm saying? Y'all been in business 50, 60, 70 years. Y'all know what the F is up. You got some of the smartest people hired. The level that they're playing with, they know what they're doing. But the thing about it is, in any type of capitalistic environment, if there's no one to hold you accountable, bullshit happens. That's why the stock market is regulated.
Oh, man.
That's why banks are regulated.
Yeah.
That's why any business that goes public is regulated. That's the regulations are to keep people from exposing, weaknesses. Think about it. Exploiting weaknesses.
Yeah.
Because anytime we see a hustle go live in the streets, right? Everybody's on it. Everyone's trying to run it up.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad. Right? Mm-hmm. They don't care who gets impacted. I just came up.
I got mine.
Bro.
That's all that matters, bro. It's the exact same way with the whole GameStop situation. Everybody was trying to get in. It's bad enough that the the banks were basically running up the tab, trying to make everybody invest into them. But the fact that you had all of those people in Reddit, catch it, tell all of their friends. I'm glad people made money off of that. I'm glad a lot of people won, but I'm also sad. There's a lot of people that lost. A lot of people lost. And hey man, it is what it is. That's the name of the stock market. If you don't get in when it's low, you don't go in when it's high. Don't let your emotions, jump in there. I mean, I saw GameStop at $4 a share a year and a half ago, and I bought some, and I'm like, man, I wish I'd have stayed in it. But I'm glad I didn't try to buy in at in January,
right? When everybody was
hopping in, because that's the hustle, right? If you try to jump in on the hustle when the hustle is already getting good, I promise you, if you can't jump out quick enough, don't do it, right? Don't jump into these situations.
Don't put anything in that you ain't willing to lose.
That you're not willing to lose, and it's going to happen, right? And you're going to lose. Losing is inevitable, right? It's what you learn from the loss, right? Now, how many losses are you going to take before you learn? That's the question.
That is a good question. And so all these cats are out here trying to figure out how not to take a loss, how to win.
Yeah.
And when you look at the strategy of running a label, whether it's at the independent level, because you can get screwed if you're signed to, you can be signed to an independent company. Because the independent boom has made independent record labels more desirable. Right? A company that says, hey, I have a history of doing this in this region, in this area. My artists are all making $200,000 a year. You should sign with me because I can help you get there.
Yeah.
That independent label is knowing that they get in whatever off of every, for every artist is making $200,000, they making $100,000 or $200,000 themselves. Offset artists too, and everyone's all working together. But it's all the same shit. Whether you're with the independent or a major, it's all the same shit.
Nothing changes.
And the difference is
the same.
There are no regulations. That's the problem. The problem is there's nobody to hold anybody accountable in the music business, right? And so you can't, as an artist, you can't have your cake and eat it too, unfortunately. It's you can go into a business where a person can put, hundreds of $1,000s into you or millions of dollars into you, right? And if you lose, there's no way they can get their money back. They can't garnish your checks. They can't attack your credit.
Yep.
They can't put a lien on your house.
Yep.
They can't do nothing. You just get away scot-free. You say, what? I don't even want to do music no more. I actually want to play basketball. I actually want to work in a cubicle and do whatever. I want to, you can do it. You can just change careers.
Right.
And there's nothing they can do but take it on the chin because there's no one regulating the situation, right?
Right.
That's your benefit as an artist. On the flip side, you start making money. They can take stuff off the top. They can siphon money here. They can not necessarily count all your stuff. They don't have to take your stuff serious. Why? Because there's no regulation.
Nobody regulating.
There's no one accounting for that. So it's the same ish. And so as an artist, it's not about being angry about the situation. It's about being aware that you have to regulate.
Yeah.
Regulators. You know what I'm saying?
Come on up, man.
You gotta regulate.
Come on up, man.
You gotta come in and you gotta say, all right, I'm gonna audit you guys every X amount of period, and I want to make sure I get my money. I'm pretty sure everyone is owed money. I guarantee you Drake is owed money.
Yeah.
And I'm guaranteed he got people. Well, I can't guarantee this part, but I'm pretty sure he got people on his team. They'll audit the label, get their money back, and they keep it pushing.
Yeah.
And the label is encouraged to give him his money back because
how much money
he's
they've
generating.
Oh,
the issue comes in when a label owes you money, but your next project didn't do good.
Oh.
And so you're like, hey, give me my money from my last project. And they're like, why would I give you money from the last project? You owe us on the new project.
Right.
And you're like, but that ain't got nothing to do with what you should have done right the first time.
Them, it's got everything to do with it because I pay you out of this money that you made for me right now.
So if I give you your money now, are you going to pay it back to me right now?
Because that's all you're going to end up doing.
Right? And
that's all you're going to end up doing.
You end up in these types of weird scenarios.
Yeah.
But, I mean, are there dishonest people? Yes. Are there companies that will move in dishonest ways? Yes. But I think that there's a problem with artists being young-minded and believing that everyone is supposed to do things the right way. And I have no expectation in any meeting ever that you're going to do the right thing.
Of course.
Because it's the right thing to do.
No.
I don't.
Put it in the black and white, man.
If there's if there's no way to hold you accountable, right? Then you will take advantage.
Of course.
That is instinct.
And that's why contracts are so important. That's why contracts, when they talk about the audit section, that's why it's so important for you to pay attention to. Because if you don't, this is what can happen. unfortunately, and it happens too many times. And so artists get upset. Like you said, they get benched. They're put in a rut. They don't want to do music no more. They're mad. They're sitting there in their space. They wish they can put out music. When they can put out music, they can't put it out the way they want to. It's a lot of that bullshit that goes around. But it takes for you to do your due diligence in the beginning to make sure that you do your audits. That's the only weapon you got. That's the only weapon you got, and that's probably one of the key things you might want to get whenever you get signed to a major record deal, and you do get a major record deal. You need to put an auditor on your team. Get somebody who you can not necessarily trust, but who you can hire, right? And then and that's just me personally listening to what you have just said. And if y'all are not picking up what I'm picking up, I'll lay it out for you. Take care of yourself. Worry about you first, right? Worry about you and your team first before you try to worry about anyone else. And make sure that you cover yourself, because at any point in time, no one owes you anything. No one owes you anything. I don't care if they've been your friend since day one. Nobody owes you anything, and it's always good to be transparent. And if you're not transparent, hey, it's all good until you get got. And then I'll bet you want to be transparent then. Everybody wants to be transparent then. Everybody, I got. I can't believe this happened to me.
Everyone plays the victim.
If you was playing, of course, but if you were paying attention,
artists play the victim all the time.
All the time. That's the emotional side. That happens.
Artists play the victim all the time. Just as a person that's dealt with artists are always the victim.
It happened to me. I can't believe this. What am I gonna do, sir?
I just asked you to do and you were supposed to. And how come you didn't? And the warning for anyone that's going into the business side of it, dealing with artists, is that, and if you're an artist watching this, try not to be this, but it's okay. I understand why artists are this way. But artists can
be aware.
Artists can be very childlike.
Yeah, preach on.
And the reason that I see that they're childlike is because they have to stay in tune to that creative energy that that's the side that has an imagination. You need imagination to write dope stuff, right? Or the side that's attached with their emotions because they need emotions to write dope stuff. But all these things, as an adult, and it's not necessarily cool. But as adults, as you grow, you have to suppress some of these things in order to navigate a challenging world, right? Yeah. And so as an adult, I can't just be in my emotions about stuff. I have to be more logical, or I have to approach it differently. Yeah. Or I can't sit here and dream and imagine shit. I have to actually go and make and manifest and create. Yeah. Right. And those energies don't always translate to artists. And what I see is that when artists get in these situations, they're like, how come you didn't take care of me? How come you didn't protect me? How come you didn't help me? How come you didn't? It's like, it's not anyone's responsibility to. And that's the piece that we see exposed on television or in clips like this, where artists don't find out. And in Chamillionaire, he goes into tech and he's a business guy. Earlier in this video, he talks about how he learned all of the business himself. He did all of his publishing administration. He did all of his deal negotiations himself so that he can learn the business. And that's the reason why he was even aware to do the audit. He was more of an adult about how he handled his music. Yeah. However, what artists need is great management. Facts. Because that is the manager who comes in as the adult figure. I always say managers are very parental figures in an artist's life. Even if they're your best friend, they're a parental ass figure. Yeah. Because they have to be the responsible one. Right? Mm-hmm. When we was on the road and goddamn, some shit happened, artists are like, sir, what are we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Every time. I feel I want to get drunk too. Right. It was in South by Southwest. I was like, yo, I'm not drinking anything the whole time that we're here. Right. Everyone was getting lit. And shit was happening.
You gotta be clear-minded, man.
Cats was shooting out there, you know what I'm saying? That was the baby running up and down with a fucking diaper on. Motherfuckers is like, it was just crazy. There was a lot of shit going on. It was packed. There's all these people. You know what I'm saying? You get lost from this place to that place. Right. Where are we? What direction are we in? Someone that walked away from the group don't know where this motherfucker went. He chasing tail. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta like, yo, y'all don't move. So what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this?
It's like
This
corralling,
motherfucker.
it's like corralling sheep.
Yo, the whole, and you as a manager, you're the responsible one.
Herding sheep, rather. Yeah,
for sure. I know. I wish it was like herding sheep. It's probably like trying to gather cats. The fuck is all over.
Everybody's everywhere.
They're all over the goddamn
I want to get
place.
into something else. Messing with this, getting their mind. I feel you.
It's like after a while, it's like, you know what? I ain't like that cat. No way. He ain't gonna. This nigga ain't gonna make it. You know.
Now that happens.
Ain't gonna make it. We
happens,
definitely left one person behind. I was like, yo, bro, I will be back for you.
Hey, man, that's real though.
Because you're doing too much.
I mean, but it happens. Like you
much,
gotta. Sometimes you gotta let them. All right, then you go out. You'll come. It's a stray cat. It's the alley cat. They'll come back. They'll come back. You'll come back. You know your way home.
And then afterward, it was like, you left me. I'm like, and what were you doing?
I was just doing this. It was like, no, you weren't just.
You weren't just doing the goddamn thing.
Right.
What's her name?
Exactly.
Did you have a condom? I know you don't have no goddamn condoms because we didn't stop at the gas station.
We didn't stop at the gas station and get none.
And your suitcase in the car.
Facts. So
what the fuck are you doing?
What are you doing? But that's the mindset. Like you said, they play victim, right? But like you said, so does the record label. So everybody trying to get over on everybody. But like I said, and like you said before, just you need to do your due diligence, take care of yourself, watch after yourself, and learn as much as you possibly can. The only way that Chamillionaire got to this point, like you said, because he sat there and he learned it himself. He didn't want to just be a sideliner, right? And sitting on it and wondering, how does this work instead of just, you know what, let me just figure this out. And that's the best part about being a young artist because you've got the opportunity to learn.
You do.
You just need to go and recognize it, be aware of it, and go do it. Because if you don't, I promise you, it's not gonna fare. It's not gonna fare well for you. I'm just.
Well,
it's just I've seen too many horror stories. You may give me one, maybe two instances where it's like it just magically happened, right? And all the things lined up completely, but there are a million horror stories, and so it's like. You don't want to take them chances. Those odds are very slim to none to have a fairy tale record label experience or even just music industry experience. Please do your due diligence. Take care of yourself.
And we're gonna leave you guys with this. Whether you are signed to a major or signed to an independent, if you're signed to anyone, you need to at some point have some type of auditing process. You may not be able to get Jay-Z's auditor like Chamillionaire did, but you can get someone with a CPA that has experience in the music business that can come in and evaluate. And if you don't have auditing in your contract, don't be scared to put it in there because you want the right to audit the label, right? Or the production company or whatever company you're working with. And if, this is one of those things where I just did a video saying why you need a lawyer, because sometimes it's what's in the contracts that you don't understand that you need to be worried about, but other times it's what's not in the contracts.
Yes.
And if auditing is not in the contract, when you get ready to audit, there may be a question of, do you have the right to audit it? I don't have to do this. If it's not something you want to run from, you want to embrace it, and you want to give them the opportunity to negotiate it because they're going to put limitations on how you can audit them.
Exactly.
I would too, just because when I was doing my deal with the artists and we were talking about auditing, right? My whole thing was like, listen, at this stage of your career, we don't have a full-time accountant. So if you can't just audit any given goddamn time, because that means I have to be ready all the time. But I'm doing all this other stuff. So if you want to audit, I have to get the accountant back on. The accountant gets paid to pay the accountant, right? The accountant has to come in, restructure everything, go through everything.
Yep.
Give me all the documents that I need so that I can show them to you. And if it costs me money, I'm not doing that shit goddamn. Because if you have an auditor, I have to prepare the documents for them.
The auditor, exactly.
Right? And so they are going to push back on, no, you can't audit whenever you want. They're going to do that because whatever the structure is, they need to be prepared for the audit. So, and no one wants to be audited every goddamn 6 months. I mean, it's a process that takes you away from everything else that you're doing. So there are going to be limitations to how frequent you can do it. It's just natural because you have to understand both sides. It's all strategy in the game. So I don't know everything, but I know a lot about a little bit about a lot. I'm always trying to give you guys everything that I got right here on Phase 6. This has been another episode of Student of the Game with Sir Love and OZ.
Hey, man, always be better than you were the day before. And that's how we make this happen.
Peace. I've been trying to eat this the whole goddamn time.
You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get that
syrup
right there.
Yeah.
Man.
It's like Michelle's, dog.
Oh, yeah.
That's where it's at.
All
All right.
day.
We out, y'all.
Peace.